Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'll be profiling an article from RT.com titled, Israel Preparing to Strike Iranian Nuclear Sites. Media says, events in Syria have created a window of opportunity. Sources have told the Times of Israel. And hey, Amalek, or the 1948ers, those people over in the Holy Land right now, calling themselves the children of Israel. Hey, they're filling the roles of biblical prophecy, exactly as the scriptures said they would. This is Jeremiah 49, verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom. You so-called white people, you Americans, Europeans, Russians, and those 1948ers, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And as one of the brothers in New York says all the time, the slogan of the Mossad, which is the Israeli, secret services, is, I think it's waging war by cunning. And this whole situation with Syria was nothing more than the state of Israel and the United States using, their mercenary proxy forces, those Islamic terrorists or rebels, as they're calling them, to what? Overthrow Bashar al-Assad's government, which, they tried to do back around 2014. But what happened? Russia got involved, but Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi has allowed Syria to be up for grabs right now to drag those nations deeper into the Middle East for ultimately the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the main part of World War III in Joel chapter 3. And those Amalekite Edomites, as it said in Jeremiah 49 verse 20, they are the least of the flock that's going to draw these other nations down into it. Hey, they wanted to ultimately take down Syria along with a lot of these other Middle Eastern nations to balkanize it. Look up something called the Oded Yinon Plan, the Greater Israel Project, to allow Israel to take more territory as well as not have any rivals in that region, so they would be the sole power. Hey, but in doing that, they're edging the world closer and closer to the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And as the title of that article on RT said, they're planning for attacks on Iran's nuclear sites. When Israel and Iran go at it, hey, that's going to be the cherry on top, because it's going to draw them out, as it says, the United States of America in on their side, and on the side of Russia, and on the side of Iran, Russia and her other allies. The Israeli Air Force is preparing for potential strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, military officials have told the Times of Israel. The 1948er state believes that the surprise takeover of Syria by jihadist rebels, CIA and Mossad and NATO assets, has weakened Tehran's position in the region, which could prompt Iran to speed up its atomic program, the outlet said. Meanwhile, 1948er airstrikes have taken out most of Syria's air defenses, clearing the way for an operation against Iran. And when we look at a map of the Middle East, you've got the land of Israel right here and Syria up here. And as you can see, Syria is much closer, to Iran than the Holy Land is. So with the 1948ers pivoting more towards that region, in territory in Syria, and then in northern Syria, you've already got U.S. military assets, that would give them, you know, a shorter strike distance to reach targets in Iran. And, Iran knows this. Russia knows this. A lot of these nations, know how critical that area of Syria is in that region. So it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of weeks and couple of months to see, just how far all these nations go in a power grab with that vacuum in Syria. Jump around in this article. Israel reportedly considered strikes on Iranian nuclear sites after Tehran's October 1st missile barrage, but did not follow through on those purposes. And also, Iran has been saying they're going to do a retaliatory strike against Israel for that recent strike they did with them a couple of months ago. So everybody is, on that war footing. Netanyahu's government has used the recent events in Syria to destroy its neighbor's military capabilities, launching one of the largest operations in the history of its air force. Earlier this week, Israeli jets struck over 250 targets across Syria, including airports and seaports, air defense and missile sites, military industry facilities, and warehouses. Israeli troops also moved beyond the buffer zone in the Golan Heights, claiming Mount Hermon. Bashar Assad's government in Syria was overthrown by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham militants last week. The jihadist group has not yet consolidated power. And hey, in the media right now, they're praising that group as, rebels overthrowing a despotic dictator, when the leader of that group, and that group was previously known as Jabhat al-Nusra, which was affiliated with al-Qaeda. And I thought the West was at war against al-Qaeda for 9/11. Remember, the Mossad, we wage war by cunning. The official narrative you're getting is just a subterfuge to cover up the true purposes of things out here. Money, power, and resources. Israel reportedly believes that Iran is isolated after the ousting of Assad, and that its other main ally in the region, Lebanon-based Hezbollah, has been significantly weakened by the recent IDF offensive there. This could push Iran to speed up its nuclear program and create a window of opportunity for an Israeli preemptive strike, according to the Times of Israel. And hey, over here at GMS, hey, we're all for Israel doing that preemptive strike because, like I said earlier, when that least of the flock, the 1948ers, get things popping off with Iran, hey, all those other nations are going to be drawn out into that war, which is going to play into the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon. But go to Joel 2, verse 20. But I will remove far off from you the Northern Army, the North American Army, the United States military, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, like a desert, Middle East, with his face toward the East Sea and his hinder part, or behind him, toward the utmost sea. And back in that map of the Middle East, the main staging ground for this war is going to be Saudi Arabia, which the U.S. has used as a launch pad for their wars in the Middle East, which is really known as Western Asia. And toward the East Sea, you have the Persian Gulf, which you have Iran, and to the northeast, Iraq, with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which the U.S. has a military presence there. And then what? Those rivers also flow into Syria, which, like I said earlier, the U.S. has been having a military presence in, northern Syria. And his hinder part, or behind him, toward the utmost sea, the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. And there's going to be a great slaughter of U.S. military personnel in, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, during the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. But, that's the one hand of the least of the flock drawing them out. The 1948ers as allies coming to their defense. But then on the other hand, on the side of Iran, this is Ezekiel 38 verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, speaking of Russia, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. The Most High putting those Russians back into that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit. And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Russia's military assets being gathered down into the region, which, going back into Syria, with Bashar al-Assad's government's collapsed, you've got that power vacuum right now, and you've got Russia's only warm sea port, the port of Tartus, which gives them access to the Mediterranean in Syria, and they've also got an airfield in Syria and military personnel right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out with the Russian military there, while Assad's government or their allies is collapsed. But regardless, hey, you've got Russia in that region. You've got the Northern Army in that region. So the Most High is moving everybody into their places. And then when the least of the flock does what they do, whatever that ultimately is, that's going to draw everybody out. Verse 5, Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, speaking of Turkey, and all his bands. The house of Togarmah and of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. And with the the Greater Israel Project, that from my understanding, that involves even some territory, in Turkey. And Turkey has been playing the fence on a lot of things. Sometimes they're with the West, such as in helping and overthrow Bashar al-Assad, and then sometimes they're with the East, with them pivoting towards Russia and the BRICS. But what's ultimately going to take place, however it takes place, is Gomer or Turkey is going to completely abandon the West and fully ally themselves with Russia. And this whole situation with Syria, however that plays out, could, help expedite those things. But what the verse 5 and 6 is going into is Gog, or Russia's allies, which we see includes Iran, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard or a protector unto them. So Russia is going to be a protector unto Iran, just as the Northern Army, the U.S., is going to be a protector unto Israel, and the least of the flock is going to draw them out, ultimately into the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles. Prepare war with Iran, World War III, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Since October 7th, you've been having the U.S. pivot more forces into that region. And now, as we just read from that article, Israel is planning for potential strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And if and or when Israel strikes those facilities, best believe Iran is going to strike back, which, for the first time in recent history, Iran striked, targets inside the land of Israel. And that would have been unheard of decades ago. But, these nations are getting on that war footing because they know war is coming. And Iran also knows that Gog has their back. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh, and those are the death angels of the Most High, holding back this great destruction, also drying up the river Euphrates, waiting to get the go-ahead to allow this war to kick off, which is going to mainly happen after the MARKOFTHEBEAST in Revelation 13, verses 16 to 18, which is the RFID/NFC C-HIP implant is mandatorily implemented, and we're right around the corner with that. What is President-elect Donald Trump wanting to turn America into, the Bitcoin country? Everybody's moving towards those CBDCs and digital cashless societies, unless we forget Elon Musk, who is a part of Trump's incoming administration, is involved with Neuralink, that C-HIP in the forehead. Verse 12, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which in the Hebrew is Yahweh's Shabbat, or Yahweh's judgment. And when you go up to the first couple of verses in this chapter, you'll see why Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is gathering these heathens into that region to judge them for what they've done to the true children of Israel, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And at the top of that list of you heathens that have come against Israel are you Edomites. Read Psalms 83. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. And with recent events over in Western Asia or the Middle East, we can see that the day of decision is very near. The day of Yahweh is very near in the valley of decision. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere, Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.